TIFU by calling a family's recently deceased son a moron. I didn't realize how long this story is until I typed it out, so sorry for the long read. For context, I'm a mailman who works out of the Midwest. I don't have to tell my fellow carriers in this area that the past 3 months have been rough. Not only has my city had snow for 3 weeks straight now, but Christmas package volume hasn't gone down very much. I've been working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday for these 3 months, just trying to keep up with the volume. It's also been very cold, and all around I've been extremely stressed out and tired. Well, yesterday was no different, as I was told first thing in the morning that I had 2 routes I had to get done on my own, plus any extra packages when I got back. Not only that, but my ProMaster, a bigger mail truck, had been taken on Sunday for maintenance, and I'd have to take a much smaller Metris car. This means I'll have much less space for all the mail and packages, but Metris cannot drive through any amount of snow. Not joking, a light dusting on the road will result in you getting stuck. So I was already tired and very frustrated. Fast forward to halfway through my day, and I'm delivering packages to a nicer neighborhood. I see the house that I'm dropping a package. It doesn't have any open spots to park on the street, except for in front of their neighbor's fairly long driveway. It's not uncommon for us carriers to block a driveway for a minute to just drop off a package, so I don't think anything of it. Well, I couldn't see the end of the driveway due to the other cars, and as I turn to park, I realize that at the end of their driveway is a pretty large pile of snow. I try to brake and turn, but it was too late. I land right in the middle of the snow pile, completely stuck. I try in vain to get myself out, but for safety reasons we aren't allowed to dig ourselves out. So I have to call the office to get a tow truck, which I'm told may take an hour to get there. This means I'll have to stay an extra hour to get the rest of the packages delivered. Pretty obviously, I'm absolutely livid at this point, cursing up a storm in my car. Well, down the driveway comes a man who doesn't look very happy. He throws up his arms in that "WTF are you doing?" pose, which just makes me more mad. I get out and snap him a "Can I help you?" He snaps back at me with a "What are you doing blocking my driveway?" This is where I f***ed up. I'm usually very calm and polite with customers, no matter how rude they are to me. But today I just couldn't control myself, and I say, well, it looks like someone was too lazy to shovel the snow on their driveway into their yard, and instead piled it in the street. The man gets red in the face and looks like he's going to scream at me, but takes a deep breath and says, "My son shoveled this for me," without even thinking about respond. Well, your son is a moron. I again expect him to yell at me, which in hindsight is exactly what I wanted him to do. Instead, he stumbles back like I struck him, and I see tears start to pour from his eyes. He immediately turns and half runs up the driveway, and I can see he's sobbing. I instantly feel confused and extremely guilty, because mailman or not, there was no reason for me to speak to him that way. So pretty quickly, I follow him up the driveway, where I see their cars parked. On both of the back windshields is a sticker of a boy with text on top and bottom that says, using a fake name, "R.I.P. Riley, we'll miss you, 2008 to 2025. I feel like I was slapped in the face. Their child had passed 2 weeks ago. I walked to their door in a daze and knock. Both parents answer, a mix of fury and anguish on their faces. That's when the stress and exhaustion from the past 3 months and the intense guilt I was feeling hit me like a brick wall. I dropped to my knees and began to cry, trying to tell them I was sorry in between sobs. To my astonishment, both parents dropped next to me, wrapped me in a hug, and started to cry with me. We stayed like that for a few minutes until I got my crying under control, and I told them why I was so angry and how sorry I was. The dad put his hand on my shoulder and told me he forgave me, which brought on more tears. We introduced ourselves and talked for a bit, but eventually I had to go wait for the tow truck in my car. But as I was waiting, they both came out with winter gear and snow shovels. They were offering to dig me out, which I vehemently refused. I told them I didn't at all deserve their help, but the mother told me I cleaned up my son's messes for 16 years because I'm his mother. That doesn't stop just because he passed, which caused me to cry even more. They eventually got me out, and I exchanged phone numbers with them and told them I'd invite them over for dinner later this week. They accepted, and now my wife and I are going to cook them a veritable feast this coming Saturday. TLDR, I f***ed up by getting angry at a family son for shoveling the snow in their driveway onto the street, not knowing he died a few days later. Update. So first things first, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who posted love and support on the original post. I apologize for not responding to any comments. I really thought I was going to get torn up in the comments, so I muted the post right after I posted it. I wasn't going to post a story in the first place, but a friend of mine told me about this sub and told me people would love to hear the story. I'll be more active on this post. Now, as for an actual update, the parents did have dinner with my wife and I last night, and they are absolutely wonderful people. They, 40 and 42, are quite a bit older than my wife, 28, and I, 27, but that didn't matter in the slightest. We had my family's famous goulash with a very nice bottle of wine they brought with them and talked almost a whole night. At one point, I did work up the courage to tell them about the post, and they were a bit apprehensive at first. But once I read some of the wonderful comments you all had wrote, I did not read them the absolutely disgusting comments some people left. They felt absolutely blessed that so many were supportive of their family and our new friendship. The father did have something he wanted me to include in this update. Before he had his son, he was a lot like me, very quick to anger, prone to flying off the handle if he was having a bad day. When he had his son, he got a bit better, but was still an angry person overall. When his son died, he had an absolute meltdown and said some very hurtful things to family members who were trying to be supportive. He's going to feel guilty about that forever and made a promise to both his wife and son that he would keep his anger under control. Well, then along comes me, his first real test of his new promise. He told me he genuinely believes that his son sent me as a real test to the promise he made him. He encourages everyone to do the same, to approach others with compassion and kindness before anger, as none of us truly know what battles everyone around us is fighting. TLDR, my previous outburst of anger has led to a lifelong friendship.